The same way that I came into understanding the strength of myself as a woman was this divine calling to help others to understand what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a woman on this planet. And so it's a calling for me. I am called for this. This is why I'm here. I cannot imagine while I'm in this body not on a mission to support women to be the greatest version of themselves. We really do this process from a place of holding and supporting and hugging and loving and taking you to the greatest version of this vision that Spirit has called you on this planet for. Greetings, everyone, and thank you so much for joining our second live. This is our second live. Last week we had so much fun. We had to do it again. You know, it's kind of like that. Sometimes you just got to do it again and again and again to make this amazing. So this week, though, we have two other sacred leaders that are joining us along with myself and Kemba so that we can be in this full awesome conversation. We are talking about, if you are joining us, we're talking about Sacred Leaders Training SLT Plus. And this is our 16th year, and we're going into our 10th cycle. Just amazing. And we thought that it would be important to do an info session. We used to do info sessions years ago, and then we stopped. I don't know, but we're back. We're back on it because sometimes people just want to know. They want to know. They want to know. They will have questions. They want to know ahead of time. So we had decided to do these two lives and trust that you will get what you need. Our intention really is to inform you, but also inspire you, and inspire you not just for SLT, but inspire you in general to live your highest vision, whatever that means, and to look at SLT as an option for you for your own learning journey. But there might be others, so we just want to give you options because we live in an amazing universe with lots of open doors of opportunities, and this is one of the doors. So welcome. I am Aina-Nia Ayodele Ajwa Ifayemi. Aina-Nia means she who has purpose. Ayodele is joy has come home. Ifayemi, Ifa befits her, and that's because Ifa, the Yoruba tradition that I follow, is Ifa, and it is what guides me. And of course, Ajwa, because I was born on a Monday, and I love to say that because it comes with so many great things. We are going to, over this next hour and something, it might be an hour and 15 minutes. What we want to do is going to give you a little bit of information about SLT. We're going to have a conversation as sacred leaders in general. We'll have a conversation, and then we'll open up for some questions if you have questions, and then we'll close off the same way we started. I'm going to turn it over to you, Kemba, to start us off in a good way. And so, and introduce yourselves. I will have everybody introduce themselves because you're such brilliant women. Kemba, I turn it over to you.
Thank you so very much. I am just burning some sage here, and I'm sure Selena has put down some tobacco, and want to really give thanks for the stewards of the various lands that we're on, the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Mississaugas of Scugog Island, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabeg, the Wendat, and we know that there are various other nations that come to these lands as well, so we welcome them here too and know that we are in accordance with the Williams Treaties, Treaty 13 in Toronto as well. And I was thinking about how winter, thinking about when we think about land acknowledgements, we have to make them active and practical and giving thanks for the land, but also how the land allows us to understand change. So a lot of people are talking about, oh my gosh, it's winter, it's cold, the snow. But the beauty of the land is that we see it through these various seasons in Turtle Island. So I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful when I shovel the snow and I see some pebbles from that I saw in the autumn or a little bit of grass. I'm so thankful for the land, the physical dirt and the land that not only grounds us, but reminds us of change and the cycles in which we live that are aligned with our body. And as we do as well, I want us to invite our ancestors in, thinking about, still thinking about the cold. For those of you who are familiar with Canadian history, we know that at some point, former Prime Minister Wilfrid Laurier put an order forward that said that Black people could not come to Canada because it was too cold for them, right? And I want to give thanks for our ancestors who survived the cold, who, despite all things, we can be here. So I want to give thanks for that. I also want us to call in our ancestors. As I shared last week, this is my plant that I use for pouring libation. It originates in Nigeria, and it's sturdy, and it's like our ancestors in winter that came before us, can withstand a lot. And so I'm going to invite my sisters on the call to call in their ancestors. I'm going to start off with Josiah Henson, who is an ancestor from southern Ontario, giving thanks for the homestead that he created. Nsa,
And so,
So,
Jomo Kenyatta Bartley.
nsa,
Trifina Georges.
nsa,
Albert and Teresa Morin,
nsa,
Parisha Sherilyn Smith.
nsa,
Helen Jacobs.
nsa,
Kumba Bela.
Josephine Elise,
nsa,
Mhm.
Marie and Cyprian,
nsa,
Mama
Mhm.
Vadney.
nsa,
Hilda Smith.
nsa,
Queen Nsinga.
nsa. And I want to call in recent ancestor Louis March.
Ashe.
That's it.
And for all whose names we haven't called, but we know them in our hearts, we say drink and quench your thirst. Nsa.
Ashe.
Lafia, 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 Lafia.
I wanted to continue this opening for those who have joined us to really focus in on, what this process can mean for those of us who have made this decision. I'm reading from Aina-Nia's book called Self, An Inner Journey to Remembering Your Power. And each day starts off with an affirming thought. And this affirming thought is from Neil Donald Walsh. And Walsh invites us to understand that the purpose of life is to create yourself anew in the grandest version of the greatest vision ever you held about who you are. It is to announce and become, express and fulfill, experience and know your true self. And Aina-Nia supports us with an affirming reflection. And she writes, the best student comes to every experience as new. They approach all life lessons as though it has never happened before. Beloved, discover, see, and experience all things as if it is your first time. Make things already existing new by creating and introducing new thoughts, feelings, and emotions into each experience. Today, you have a choice to discover, create, introduce, see, and have new experiences. You get to choose exactly what you desire and do so gently and lovingly. You get to create new life affirming experiences. You have the power to create first in your mind and then in actuality. And the important closure for this is you can choose new. Thanks, Aina-Nia, for giving me the space to share that.
Thank you so much. I was taking in those words, and really sitting with this time that we're in, and what bubble we will create for ourselves, so that because that we're not in the bubble of chaos and chaos and misinformation and hate and so on. And so thank you for that every day we get to choose. I want to take us through a very brief mindfulness as we go into our conversation, just to Get us all in that space and align our minds and our hearts. And for those of you who are online with us and are watching, you are experiencing a conversation around Sacred Leaders Training SLT Plus. And we invite you to join us, to come with us right where you are sitting. Take a nice deep breath, however that is for you. Nice inhale and exhale. You might be driving, you might be at home, you might be cooking even. Just for this moment, be present to this moment. And let's take another breath of presence in. Deep breath in. Releasing anything that is not of us, that is not of our greatest self. And we bring into our mind peace right now. Peace. And we breathe in peace. We think about joy, that feeling of joy, that thing that's just that blissful feeling, you know? We all have all experienced it. I want you to bring to your mind's eye a moment that you felt joy. Just bring that into your experience. It could be something so simple. You're by the water, you feel joy. You're with your four-legged, you feel joy. You're with your baby, your two-legged human around you, and you feel joy. You look into the eyes of an elder, of someone who has lived for a long time on this planet, and you see their wisdom, and it brings you joy. Nice inhaling that joy. And remember to smile so your body knows you are bringing in joy and peace right now. And just be present with that. And we're moving into a month of the Black Liberation Month, right? Black History Month. And so I want you to bring in that feeling of liberation, a time when you felt truly free, free to be all of you. Or if you could just imagine it, if you cannot bring that to your mind, imagine freedom. Imagine, bring to your consciousness the experience of freedom, mental freedom, emotional freedom, physical freedom, spiritual freedom, and breathe that in right now. And now, if you could bring to your mind's eye your present moments, what would a choice of new, what would a new choice be for you right now? What would a new choice, what would it feel like? What would it look like? What would it smell like? Even taste like? Something new and vibrant and uplifting and joy-filled and feast-filled and freeing. And bring that into your consciousness right now. Just take a moment. And when you're there, take inhale. And with this next breath, I want you to take your imagination, bring it to your third eye, that place that in the middle of your forehead, and we call the third eye, right in the middle of your forehead, where your vision lies. And in this void, we're naming it nothing. Just imagine it's void. It's in the middle of your forehead. It's where your vision lies. I won't name it. You won't name it. We just want to use your breath and see what comes for you. Nice inhale. We're going to take 3 Nice cleansing breaths. Still focusing on that third eye, another, and just allow whatever comes to come to you. Just allow. We allow. And that third cycle, just allowing whatever comes to that third eye. Let it come. Let it come. You might have seen a color, a shape, a person, a thing. You might have seen nothing, but you might have seen a word or a phrase. Just stay with it, whatever that is. Be fully present with that right now. And just breathe. Conscious of the breath. Conscious of the breath. Conscious of the breath. Conscious of the breath. Beautiful. Beautiful. Presence. The gift of presence. No cost. No financial cost. Just being present. A choice to be present. I'm going to take one last cycle of inhale and exhale, and then bring our physical self back into this moment. Nice inhale. I find it really easy to come back when we rub our palms together. Just bring our palms together, or move our head from side to side, whatever works for you. Whatever works for you. If your eyes were closed, just opening them up and coming present. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. If you're just joining us because you're online and you're just joining us now, I want to tell you that you are with some fantastic genius women, leaders, and we're going to have a conversation around the Sacred Leaders training process. I have a couple of questions I just wanted to chat with folks about. But before we do that, because I had just forgotten that I was going to show a whole slide deck. So before we go into the conversation, because this happened last week, where we show the slide deck and folks started to see themselves and see different ways, and that created a whole different conversation. So let me do that. Let me share this slide deck with you. I would just want to move through quickly. This won't take long. Where is that slide deck? Here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
We're good? Okay.
Yep.
So want to introduce this amazing process called the Sacred Leaders Training. And over the last 16 years, I have been fortunate, I feel really fortunate to have been able to see transformation in real time for women, for the women in leadership, for their families, for their workspaces, for their communities. And what I know is that we have women who are changing the lives of people every day and transforming community every day. So really love this. When leaders rise, whole community transform. So that's how I describe SLT, really. That's how I describe SLT. It is unique. There is no doubt about that. It's a different kind of thing. It's a different kind of community. And we have been transforming the lives of women and their families and communities since 2009. So I won't spend a whole lot I love to tell the story, but I won't spend a whole lot of time telling the story, except to say that, Sacred Leaders came and SLT came out of my own vision 16 years ago, as I was trying to define how my purpose for being on this planet would look. And one of the ways that I express myself is through the supporting women in their own leadership journey. And for me, more than anything else, is about supporting women to fully lead their own lives so that they can lead others, right? So that they can lead other people, other things, other places. Because if we can't lead our own lives well, we can say we're leading our own, but I mean, leading our lives to its optimal. If we are on the journey to doing that, sometimes we find ourselves in places of stuckness, and we find ourselves in places of imbalance or lack of boundaries and chaos, and we get caught into the chaos that might be happening in the world, as opposed to staying true to ourselves and not leading from a place of default or leading from a place of selling our souls just so that we can lead, right? So it came from my own, this is my vision, and my hope always is that living my vision also supports others in living their vision. And so I know that this is an ancestral calling. So the ancestors have given us directions and exactly how to lead this process. So over the years, we've been bringing communities together in the last 16 years across the world in different ways. And I always say we, because I don't do this by myself. I do this with a whole lot of people, and I do this with a whole lot of people that are living and a whole lot of people who are no longer on this planet, right? And so for me, it's never an I, it's always about the we. And these are just some ways that we have been able to lead through wisdom, and we walk side by side with the women. Our process, this SLT process, is grounded in African-centered knowledge system, and different indigenous paths across the globe. I am I am an African, and so it makes sense then that the core of our work, and because the ancestors is guiding this work, my ancestors and the ancestors of the women who come in are guiding this work, we have to honor that. We must honor that. So it's a non-colonial process. We decolonize a whole lot of things, a whole lot of things, a whole lot of concepts. We disrupt a whole lot of things, and we have many stories of how we disrupt narratives, and probably some of some that might come up in the conversation today. But I want to point out there are a couple of this photo you're seeing to my left at the bottom is one of our last culminations. So, and at this ceremony, you're seeing an elder from Grenada. We were in Grenada. And what you're seeing here, I don't know if Selena can see that it's her, but we're planting a tree. So wherever we go, Kemba will talk a little bit more about the process, but wherever we go, we like to give back. We try as best as we can to give back to the land that we go to. And in this experience, we were planting a tree on the land of this elder, Ia Allison, and Ia Allison has an African healing village, and so our energy is planted there. And this was recent, so I just wanted to point that out to you. Love this moment. Love this moment. The process is really about how we show up as women, leaders, to leave legacies, to create legacies, right? Because this is none of the work that we do, well, hopefully none of the work that we do is anything excepting about building for community, right? As indigenous peoples, as African peoples, we build for community. It's not about it's about how we serve community for the betterment of community, and therefore the betterment of the world. So we're always looking at how we're leaving legacy wherever we are and whatever we do. My father used to say, make sure that we leave the place better than we found it. And so let me go on here. I've been mentioning family, community, and the world a lot, and I've mentioned that we do things from this whole place, this Ubuntu place, right? I am because you are. And so what we see as impact, we think about how does SLT, how does this process, what are the impacts in this process? The way we measure this is not simply by, did the women finish their assignments or their projects or did they show up? It's about looking at who the woman has become, who this woman leader has become as a result of this process. And how has that affected her family? How has that impacted her family? How is that impacting her community, the people she served? And how is she contributing to the betterment and the enlightenment and the higher vibration and liberation of the world? That's how we see success, right? And so whether a woman comes through the process and spends 3 months with us or 10 months, and most people do, we have an 80% completion rate. But whatever that is, the journey is, the trajectory is, how is the impact on multiple layers? Again, we're a non-colonial process. So we measure things not based on check boxes and how many people or how many things, but the impact. What are the impacts? And so we'll talk a little bit more about that. We'll talk about the ripple effects that this process has. My team put this up and I like it, so we're gonna talk about it a little bit. Um, I said I shared this somewhere. We're really about holding the women through the process, and so um, it's really important that we walk side by side with every single woman who comes into this process, because every cycle is different, because every woman who walks into every cycle is an individual and she comes with all of her intersectional identities, and we honor and respect all of that and must see her then for the magnificence that she is, must see her then for the divine feminine that she is, must see her then for her purpose that she has come on this planet to live at this time, and support her in making sure that that happens. Over the years, one of the things, and Kemba will mention that as she talks some more about the curriculum and that what that looks like. But one of the things that the ancestors were really clear on when this process was downloaded for me is that at the end of the process, we must go to a place, or we must culminate in a place where African centered knowledge systems are still being practiced. And so over the years, over these last 16 years and 9 cycles, we're going into the 10th cycle, we have gone to different places. So these are pictures of our first culmination in Ghana with those magnificent women, and then our experience in Cuba with the Madrina. That was such a beautiful, beautiful experience. Always, always, always. We spent time with Santira folks. Of course, in Ghana, we spent time with the Akan folks. And then there was a year that we culminated here in Canada. It was the only year actually that we ever culminated, and we brought a bunch of elders from different traditions and had a blast. And then of course we went to Jamaica, and that was a kongpong. We spent some time at a kongpong. You can see women feeding their face as we feed each other. That was profound, and there are lots of stories that I can tell you, but I really want to get to the conversations on that. And then we went to Costa Rica at Puerto Viejo, and had a profound experience. Again, every cycle, every culmination is different, but you can see folks got on their bicycle and rode around that small village and had a lot of fun. Then of course Antigua, and I don't know if you can see Kemi in this one, but of course Antigua was an experience unto itself. It was so tremendously powerful. We spent time with the
Mhm.
Nyabingi folks and
Mhm.
was treated with tremendous honor and tremendous
Mhm.
respect. We had a blast. Lots of it we
Mhm.
will not tell you about. It's not for public knowledge. And then, of course, our time in Belize, we spent time with the Garifuna people and really experienced the Mayans. We spent almost a half a day there, and that was just magnificent. Learned a lot about how as when we were enslaved and came out of slavery, freed ourselves from slavery, we also migrated a lot, you know. And so when we think about the Garifuna people and their original, not their original place, their original places in Africa, but coming from St. Vincent and then
Mhm.
going down to Belize, was new information for us, you know, and for some of us anyway. And then most recently, I don't know if you can see Selena, most recently in Grenada. And again, just we there was the women did a community project that was really magnificent, so much effort. And what I will say about that project in particular is to see how the entire Sacred Leaders community, which we'll talk about shortly, the entire Sacred Leaders community really contributed to this community project and supported the women. And we had a whole lot of blast. And that was our cycle 9. I think this is a quote from one of the women. Not cycle. I don't think this was the Grenada cycle, but someone said, I learned to rest, to heal, to lead from my values, not my pressure." And so I'm hoping that we can talk a little bit about that. I'm going to read it again. I learned to rest, to heal, and to lead from my values and not from pressure. And so I think that's a really good quote that could sum up what the process is about. And then this other quote, SLT gave me the courage to lead in ways that felt authentic and powerful. It is our hope always that, you know, authenticity is a huge thing for us in this process. And this is the photos of us serving community from Ghana to Grenada to Jamaica to Belize. Those are just some of the places. I know we served Ghana twice because one year I remember we gifted a whole community of folks in Ghana bicycles. I can't remember, but I think it was like 100 bicycles. I don't know how they did it. I can't remember how they did it, but
Mhm.
that was really phenomenal.
Mhm.
And so, you know, here we are. We have created a community, really. We've created a community of sisterhood, and we have been through many journeys with women, from pregnancy to
Mhm.
weddings and deaths and all of the in between, and promotions and retirements and people releasing their jobs. We celebrate for that too. Releasing of jobs, releasing of partnerships, and for to create new is what we're always doing. So those are just some of our photos of our sisterhood, and I know that these women will talk about it. So we invite you. This information session really is an invitation. We invite you to consider. We invite you to consider taking that leap, taking that sacred leaders leap, and answering the call if it speaks to your heart, you know, and probably not now, but some other time, or probably now. But we invite you to do that. So thank you for giving us the space and the time to share a little bit about that. And now we're ready to go into the conversation. Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
So I have, you know, so to keep us on track, we're gonna try to keep on track. I had some things I wanted to make sure that we touched on, and I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourself, whatever you want to share, however you want to share it, and then as you introduce yourself, I want you to think about this first questions. We get told a lot. I hear a lot that this process is very unique. It's different from any other leadership process, and so I want you to think about responding to that. What is it? Do you find it unique, first of all? And if it is, What is so unique about it? And so I'll turn it over to whichever one of you want to answer first, but I certainly want you to please introduce yourself to our audience.
Did you want to go first, Selena? Since you're
Thank
fresh, since you're fresh.
you. Fresh off culmination, yeah. So Tasi, Apito Gisikau, good afternoon. Adishnikashon Selena, my name's Selena. I'm Mitcha from Métis, originally from the prairies, but I've lived in and around Toronto for a very long time. The Great Lakes are definitely home to me, and I'm grateful to be here and to relive the brilliance that was my experience in Sacred Leaders, and to share this space with you, Kemi, Kemba, and Aina-Nia. Right, unique. There could be a very long list about what makes Sacred Leaders, makes the experience unique. I think the biggest thing for me is the focus on spirit. Just the grounding. Like Sacred Leaders is so very deeply rooted in African Indigenous practices and that spirit, and leaning in and learning to lean into spirit and what that means for us and how we carry that spirit with us in the work that we do and how we do that work. So for me, in thinking about, there's lots of other types of leadership programs that you can take out there, but I have never seen one that is so deeply rooted in those African Indigenous practices and spirit.
I'll jump. Are you good, Selena?
Stay off mute.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Kemi.
okay, yeah. So I kind of really emote that. So let me introduce myself first. I'm Kemi Jacobs. I'm from Cycle 7, 2022, I think it was. I'm an African woman who was born in the Caribbean. My paternal ancestry is from the Mbundu people in Angola. I'm passionate about Africa and Africans, and I'm really delighted to be invited to share some of my experiences and just my overall sense of sacred leader training. The question about what is unique, and I kind of lean on what Selena said, because for me it's the entire process. It's the time, the attention, and like the loving stewardship which Aina-Nia and Kemba, because they both support the entire process, that they give to it. And for me, it's really important. And again, it's the whole leaning into spirituality and embracing it, our African and in Selena's case, indigenous ancestry and ways of being. Because this is not just Aina-Nia. It's the wisdom of our ancestors, which she channels, that has created this amazing process. So it's not something she dreamed up, but basically it's informed by the wishes and the intentions of what our ancestors want for us. So the inbuilt spirituality, and I want to make it clear, it's not religion, it's spirituality. And it gives you it is an intentional, very intentional exploration of our own innate spirituality and our connections to the universe, to our ancestors, to goddesses, that really make it so amazing. Of course, there's the sisterhood and the shared journey, but for me, that whole connection and where it comes from is perhaps one of the most important, unique things about this process.
Thank you so much, Kemi. Kemba, do you want to chime in as well?
Yeah, greetings everyone. My name is Kemba Bayam. I was a part of the first cycle of Sacred Leaders and decided after having culminated that I wanted to continue to be a part of this community. Was the coordinator for many years and now is a teaching assistant, which I'm really honored to hold. I'm really glad that Selena and Kemi went first because I was like, what would I choose about this? And what has come up for me is the embodiment of trust and confidence that spirit is always going to hold and take care of me. Yesterday, I was speaking at an event and I was downtown and I was looking for parking for half of an hour. I got in, and legitimately, as I'm walking in, the next speaker is Kemba, and and so I was like, okay, so I start taking off my coat, taking off my boots, and I start talking. push the button on my laptop. My laptop battery has drained, so I don't have my deck. Thank you, God. You know, I said, thank you, God. And I just made this comment. I said, everyone, I said, our ancestors really prepared me to dress up warmly for this weather, but they did not exactly prepare me that my laptop, right? Because I stood up there and I shared and I missed one thing. And God is so good. There was someone in the audience. They said, what about so, so, so? I was like, that's perfect. That's the one thing I didn't share. And so to be able to know that no matter what is happening, one, there's a reason for it happening.
Mhm.
The second thing is, I'm gonna be fine. And so this particular process, there would have been a time if that was happening that I would have shut down in a particular
Mhm.
way. I
Mhm.
was like, ah, this is the work that we
Yeah.
so, and yeah, so this grounding and trust and surrender that I'm always being taken care of is really great.
So you're complete, Kim?
I am complete. Thank you.
So I want to answer that question because I really want folks to hear from you. So some core SLT teachings, I won't talk about all of that, but I want to share, uh, just remind you of a couple. Uh, I want you to think about how any of these teachings or principles resonated with you the most while in the process, or ones that you really held on to and is living your life through right now. So let me tell you the five that I want to share. Non-colonial leadership, being governed by your divine life purpose, by your purpose, having that lead you. Restoring and preserving yourself first before leading
Mhm.
or while
Mhm.
leading, and practicing overflowing abundance. You want me to say them again? You good?
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
how the question is, which of if any of those resonated for you while you were in the process, which one did? And which one are you holding on to now that is really a key piece for you as you lead, as you continue to lead?
I can go first this time.
Yes.
For me, it's the concept of overflowing abundance.
Mm,
Just the fact that, and Kemba's story just now spoke about it. There's such a release in knowing that we got this. We
Mhm.
got whatever happens, you got it. So for me, this value, it just impacts the way in which I move in the world. Because whereas you quite often in the past, you may have felt discombobulated, or when things didn't go in a certain way, or when you had I mean, some of us are planners and we lay things out, and when things don't go in that way, we kind of think, oh, what the hell, what am I going to do? But now you just kind of take it in stride because you know the universe will provide.
Mhm.
So you don't see the world as a pie with a certain number of segments or slices. You know that the world is and the universe will provide. I knew it before, but through this process, it really kind of really embodied and dug itself into the way in which I move in the world and the way in which I experience the world. So nothing really flip causes me to really become totally um discombobulated, because I know that I with the support of my ancestors and with the way in which the universe supports me, that it will go. I will be complete, and it
Mhm.
will it will evolve. I
Mhm.
don't want to take up too much time, but again, the whole concept of non-colonial leadership again is really important to me. Um, I grew up in the Caribbean, where we tended to almost deify Europe and European ways of doing it. Like basically, I remember my dad always spoke when he speak about the continent. He always meant Europe, and I take such pleasure in saying the continent and meaning, of course, Africa. You know, but that kind, just in terms of just looking at the world differently and not accepting the norms which have been foisted on us, and which we've drunk the Kool-Aid. Too many of us have drunk the Kool-Aid. And the SLT training kind of takes you away from that Kool-Aid and gives you a way of seeing the world which is more holistic and more grounded in our own identity. But I could go on and on about that, but let me pass it on.
Thank you so much.
If I could just share what Kemi, I'm not sure if I'm being heard.
Yeah,
You're
we're hearing
you're
you.
being heard. You're frozen though.
Oh,
No, we're moving now.
You're
okay,
moving
good.
now.
I think about this idea of practicing in a non-colonial way and bringing folks along. This process really has supported me in being like, this is what the colonial structure looks like, and this is how I can invite the people who I lead to be in this, the people who I work with directly. And what I was thinking about this is this process has allowed me to understand that leading in my vision means being in service. And no matter what the title of my role is, that the key function as a people leader, because I've been a people leader my adult life, is being in service in a particular way. And that means I'm committed to the growth, the development, and the care of those who I lead. And knowing that that can happen in any space has been a key part of this process for me, and continues to be that for me too. And that's why, I will be in particular spaces and I will not be in a position of leadership, but will be invited to offer remarks or give directions. And sometimes I have to be like, oh, that's actually not my role here.
Yep.
Understand that that's
Mm-hmm.
what may be happening. Selena, I'll turn it over to you to share.
Thanks so much, Kimba. When Aina-Nia first asked this question, my immediate response was all of these. They all resonated with me so deeply and powerfully, and still are. Maybe I'll focus on a couple of them. So what originally drew me to sacred leaders was the non-colonial approach. I think as an Indigenous woman who has worked in government for almost 30 years, I talk about being highly colonized. And I think even my ancestors, my family, wanted me in many ways to be colonized because they wanted to keep me safe, right? They wanted to keep our family safe. And I, over time, and as I've been in these colonized spaces for so long, I'm fascinated, absolutely fascinated with decolonized leadership. And I really wanted to grow in that way, to even understand what it meant. I mean, I had some notion before sacred leaders, but really sacred leaders helped me, figure out what does that mean. I've done many leadership executive type programs, at the big business schools. But I really needed, my spirit needed something different. And so that decolonized approach really drew me in. And then I would say, if I'm thinking about through the process of sacred leaders and where I'm at currently, having just culminated in December, it's really the piece about being governed by my soul mission and life vision. That's been so critical, again, in the process and also currently. SLT gave me tools and support to start to figure out what that was, what is my soul vision, what is my life purpose, and then really doing the work to align what I do and how I do it in all aspects of my life. So to making sure that, I'm walking on this earth in a way that aligns with my purpose for being here. And so that's really carrying me right now forward.
Thank you so much. So I have another question for everyone. What are some of the challenges? Because people are always asking about that. What are some of the challenges that you faced during the process? And I know this is a very easy process, so you had no challenges. But just in case you did, what challenges? I don't know if Kemi or Kemba remembers. 'Cause-
I mean,
but
I don't know that this is my experience because I was so hungry for this.
Uh-huh.
But what I have seen over the years is that this process invites women to choose themselves each and every month.
Mhm. Mhm.
And navigating that in spaces where they have not chosen themselves and maybe have prided themselves in putting other people before them.
Mhm. Mhm.
I think that has been what I've seen the largest challenge. I can't remember myself. I'm sure there was lots, but you know, knowing that we understand this and support women to be like, oh, why
Mhm.
don't you do this? Maybe this is your opportunity to choose
Mhm.
yourself.
Mhm.
It's been really a gift to watch where we've seen women be like, "Oh, I'm actually going to do this thing instead of doing this other thing because I'm choosing
Mhm.
myself, and I might be a little scared to do it. I might be hesitant to have that conversation, but I'm saying yes because
Mhm.
I made the choice. My ancestors and I made the choice that I'm coming into this process right
Mhm.
now for this reason because I don't know what happens if I don't choose myself."
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and I would say, Kemba, I want to add to that because that actually starts over the last 16 years. I've seen where that what you're saying here, the choosing of self,
Mhm.
actually starts before folks even come into the process, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I've seen it happen in the application, at the
Mhm.
application point, right? So folks put an application in for consideration and having to choose themselves, like seriously think about,
Mhm.
or the ancestors say, yes, come on in. And they have a list of 10 reasons why
Mhm.
they can't come now. And none of it has to do with them really, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And then watching them make that choice even before the process starts. So thanks for bringing that up, Kim, and that's a big piece. Thank you.
But I would emphasize the same, Kemba. I mean, I can highlight a couple of other challenges, but I think sacred leaders, folks that are drawn to this program, are naturally givers, right? They're naturally
Mhm.
carers, they're naturally
Mhm.
nourishers. And so they're not used to thinking about anybody except their family, their
Yes.
community, their team, other
Mhm.
people. So having to make that shift to put yourself first can be a
Mhm.
really big challenge for
Mhm.
folks. I
Yeah.
would say
Yeah.
too, as much as I've talked about how powerful and unique the focus on spirit is, it's also really hard to the work to dive into yourself and to focus on self and to focus on your spirit is really deep. Um, and that type of deep dive and focusing inward when we're not used to focusing inward, when I was not used to focusing inward, can be really difficult, right? A lot of that deep work takes time, it takes effort, it takes doing things differently. Being shown, and Aina-Nia and Kemba were brilliant in showing with us, taking us on the journey of new ways of thinking and being so that we could go deep. And your heart, I thought about this for myself, my heart and my mind exploded a few times, and that requires a bit of work, and a lot of surrendering and trusting in the process. And it's beautiful when you do that, and it's something that I'm still learning to do, but Sacred Leader really helped me. It can be a challenge for folks too to get to that place though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the difficulty of choosing because I think it was at the last minute I said, okay, I'm gonna do it. Yeah, it really is hard to put yourself first, and I think you got it brilliantly on Canva. It's the it's the intentional choose because you could only do this intentionally, and it's the intentional decision to choose yourself and to put yourself first. So that's probably the hardest part of it. I mean, the other parts of it which are not which are not particularly easy in terms of the discipline. You have to be really disciplined. And Sister Kemba is not easy in terms of making sure that and supporting, but in a loving way, but making sure that that you get it and you're on it and your reminders and so on. So it's a very supportive. You're really wrapped in a loving blanket. as you move forward. But the blanket is moving. Make no yeah. Yeah, so the discipline and I think it's the trust, because I think a big part of the process is learning to trust. And at the end of it, I mean, I think we'll talk about this after, is you come out with a new family. But there's a process of learning to trust. Yeah. And yeah, and knowing that ultimately it will work out. So yeah. So those are some of the pieces that were hard. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
interesting to listen to the pieces that are hard that also became gifts, you
Mm,
know?
Hmm.
So
100%.
it's this
Yeah.
beautiful balance of yes, we gotta go there.
Hmm.
It's kind of we gotta die to live.
Mhm.
Hmm.
No, we gotta die to live. Parts of us, our habits, our patterns, our way of thinking, the erroneous, to release the erroneous beliefs that
Hmm.
all of us carry.
Yeah.
It's hard,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
as I think Selena said, but when you get there,
Hmm.
right? It is just so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. Unlearning is really hard work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But the yeah, but the doors that open when you unlearn are such gifts in
yeah.
themselves. But yeah, yeah, and yeah,
Unlearning.
yeah.
Unlearning is such hard work.
Hmm.
So as we talk about the hard work, what are some success? Let me not ask about the success. I want to go to this. Let's talk about this community that you've all been mentioning. You're all successful women anyway, so I'm gonna, if it comes up in what you're sharing now, that's fine. But this community of sacred leaders, what would you say? Let me share this first. As you think about what you want to share. So this community called Sacred Leaders is my family, has become my family, right? And it's this place that I know I as a leader in this process can always turn to. So when Kemi talks about the blanket is beyond just the 10 months for the women who are
Hmm.
going through the process, but the blanket wraps around all of us, and all of our I've seen deaths, my own experiences of loss, physical loss in this 16 years. I've seen great gifts, so lots of things that I gained. But and in all of that, I have been wrapped in this sacred leader's blanket, you
Hmm.
know? And so what for you, what how would you describe it? What is this thing about?
Hmm. I can give a very practical example. So through my process, one of the things that I was thinking about was the whole concept of retiring and deciding when to and so on. And I mean that was in 2022. I mean I officially retired in December 2025, and I'm just easing out. And I'm
Deep bow,
easing
deep
through.
bow, deep bow.
But I've been supported by the sisters and Kemba and Aina-Nia throughout that process in terms of lovingly supporting and asking what's happening, where are you, etc., etc. So that kind of sisterhood and connection um, has gone way and beyond the actual 10 months of the process. So when Anania says you're part of a community, it really means if somebody's um has somebody who is sick, there is a kind of a reach out and a kind of supporting in terms of being aware and just sending energy, and being very intentional about supporting each other throughout the entire process. So yeah, so definitely you're part of. First, there's your cohort,
Yeah.
which is a special relationship, the people who you go through your 10 months with, and you continue to connect with them even if you don't see them. There always is that connection. And I think up beyond that too, just as white people have those networks, those old boy clubs, where they refer people to each other, etc. Sacred Leaders is a natural sisterhood, And so as you go through the world and operate in the world, as opportunities come up, you think of your sacred sisters. Oh, I know somebody who, oh, I know somebody who does that, etc. And you reach out to others, and they reach out to you too. So it's a real supportive network which supports you spiritually, which supports you in a family way, and also very practically in the real world.
So
Mm-hmm.
true.
Thank
So
you
true.
so much, so much. I want to just let folks know if you're just joining, if somehow you just bumped into us, we are having a conversation about the Sacred Leaders Training process, which we call SLT Plus. We are speaking with leaders who have gone through the process and is part of the community. This is our second information session as we get ready for the 10th cycle of this process that starts in April 2026, and we're in the process of working with folks who are considering coming into the process. So I just want you to know that we're going to be about another 15 minutes. So if you're just joining, you have another 15 minutes with us. Anybody else wanted to respond to this? Thank you so much, Kemi. That was a nice wrap.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
Selena, Kemba, want to share
I
around the
don't know if I could say it any better than Kemi just did. I can emphasize a couple of things and share a personal experience. Right? As Kemi mentioned, that you are sharing an experience unlike anything else with a group of women. And so that inevitably ties you together in a beautiful, bonded way,
Mhm.
such a powerful way. And so I experienced that with cohort 9 in 2025. And then the other piece that Kemi mentioned was the broader sacred leaders community, and just practically, spiritually, instantly when we after we culminated in December, just this past December, last month, oh my goodness. um, we were connected with the broader community, and I was on the phone within days with 3 other sisters from other cohorts who were like, hey, I've got this idea, or hey, do you know anybody? And reciprocal, I was also like reaching out and asking, and it was just so beautiful to connect and so natural. Like it was just, when you're birthed into this community, it's just understood that you are connected, deeply connected, and that you're there for one another. And then I'll also say, going through big things, halfway through my Sacred Leaders cohort 9, and it wasn't just me, actually, there was 2 of us were had to go through the experience of putting one of our parents into long-term care. And I'm very, very close with my dad, who we were putting into long-term care, as I know my sister is with her mom. And just the way Aina-Nia, Kemba, and the whole community, our Sisters and Beyond, just helped us through that process, checked on us regularly, always asking, how's my dad? How's my mom doing? Realizing this is a big transition for both of my parents. So just having that additional support, I should have expected, I should have known, but I did it until I was in it. And it was so powerful. And I would have had a very different experience transitioning with my dad into, his new reality in care, if it wasn't for Sacred Leaders.
Thank you. That's so heartfelt. That's so heartfelt, Selena. So I do want Kemba to talk a little bit about what the process is to get in, but also, anything else you want to share. But before you do that, Kemba, let me ask us, who should consider SLT? Who should consider being considered for SLT, right? Because it is a process even to get in, right? So I don't want to give people an illusion that it isn't a process. So, but who should consider? Who do you think?
I think if you are someone who's looking for a way to get to your next level, or to, take yourself to a higher level, if you're curious about that higher level, your higher self, so, that curiosity piece I think is important, then this is for you. if you're somebody also, I think this was in part my reality. If you need to remember the value of who you are inherently, um, as a two-legged, as a woman, as a human being, while, and this is the brilliance of the program, while being blanketed in care and love and grace and laughter, you heard us laugh here together, then SLT is for you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Selena.
Perhaps add to that, and thanks for that, Selena, in terms for mentioning the laughter, because it's a fun process. We laugh a lot, we joke a lot. I mean, we do serious work, but it's in such a loving and fun ambiance that it feels like ease and not like up, work. Um, I think too. Um, the importance of, I think you coined it, so if you're looking for more authentic ways of being in the world, that's I think what Sacred Leaders training offers you. It forces you to go inward and to look at yourself and what's important to you and what's your vision and what are your values, and based on that encourages and actually nurtures you to present that to the world and change the way or cement the way in which you present and interact with the world. So anyone who is interested and really serious about their own personal development and their personal growth and investing in yourself, this is a wonderful way to do it, because you're not doing it on your own as as you would be doing if you just decided to do it. You're doing it in a cocoon of which is well thought out, which is intentional, and which is very clear about the values and the foundation that it's created upon.
Awesome. Wow, thank
Yeah.
you so much. I'm listening to all of you talk, and I feel so fortunate, when the ancestors downloaded these 10 modules to me, I remember not feeling worthy. I do. I remember thinking,
Mhm.
me? I can't do this, right? And just to see 16 years later,
Mhm.
that it actually worked. And it's actually worked because it is, I think, Kemi, you mentioned it earlier. This is not my process. This is Spirit's
Mhm.
process. This is
Mhm.
Spirit's process. And that's why it worked. I want to just touch base and check with our team whether there are any questions or any comments that we need to respond to. And then Kemba can probably respond to it when she shares how to move forward. Anything from the team? Okay,
I
no
have a,
questions
I
at
have
this.
one question, just
Yes.
around around being able to access the discussion, because I know someone who was interested, but she didn't know whether she could make this time.
So it's gonna stay, this will stay on our YouTube channel, so they can go
Okay, all
get
right, so
it.
they can
Yeah,
check
it
it
will
there.
stay.
Okay, all
I
right, good.
think I think it takes a little bit of time to be
Mm-hmm.
downloaded, I guess, but
Mm-hmm.
it will live on the channel.
Okay, so it might be a good idea to send the link to the channel to the people who you yeah.
Thanks a lot, Kemi. So we
Mm-hmm.
will do that. We will make sure that I know the team is listening, so we'll make sure
Mm-hmm.
that the link for the
So I
channel
can
is
forward it
out.
to her.
Yes, it's out to
Mm-hmm.
our listserv. So if you're not on our
Mm-hmm.
listserv and you want to go on our
Mm-hmm.
listserv so we can get that to you. And I know everybody's not on social media, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
will get it to you through email and on social media. We will also. Thanks a lot for that, Kemi.
Okay.
How do people apply, Kemba?
Yeah, so this is really great. So I love that we're at the point in our journey where Aina-Nia Learning Journey has a website, ainania.com. You can go on there and apply. And once you make the decision to apply, my suggestion is you take time. The application process is really affirming and gives you clarity. Apply to that through the website. It will give you some information, which I'll go over in a bit. And then, if there's a match, we will invite you to have a conversation with us, Aina-Nia and I, and another sacred leader. And once we've had a chance to have a discussion, we'll decide, are you ready for this particular process at this time? We'll also ask our ancestors if you are ready to come. And then once that decision is made and you say yes, you will come into a beautiful 10-month process. So this 10 months is made up, each month is surrounded with a particular theme or principle. We meet in person the second Sunday of every month, which is wonderful and beautiful. There are two exceptions to this. Mid-year, we go to a retreat where we travel about 2 hours outside of Toronto, where we gather together, we have a sleepover, and we do more work together there. And then we also have this culmination that you saw during the slideshow. We choose a country where African Indigenous practices are still practiced. You have an opportunity not just to culminate, but to be in service. There's always a community service project, which you heard Aina-Nia speak to. So within the process, in addition to the monthly circle, you have the opportunity to have bi-weekly coaching sessions with Aina-Nia to guide you through this vision, this purpose that you've decided to reclaim. I'm going to offer. You also have accountability partners, so you work with another woman or another two women to get that support system throughout the process. There are assignments, and it's not necessary that you're being graded, but it's really a way for you to deepen the tools that you have gained through that particular month, and it's a building block. So whatever we have worked on the month before, you will be able to imbue into these assignments. And we also have regular gatherings where other sisters who have culminated come in to support the process. There is a cost to this particular Sacred Leaders training process. It is $8,937. That covers everything that I just spoke about, with the exception of the travel to the country once culmination takes place. There are opportunities. If that amount is not something that you could pay in advance, you can pay quarterly or monthly. And what's important to note is many women who've come into this process have also tapped into their professional development funds with their workplace to support them in paying for this process. So it's a really gentle, loving process. And in addition, if you have any questions, even within your application process, feel free to email, and we will respond to any questions that you may have in this application process. There have been many women who Aina-Nia and I have been in contact with before they've even put their application in, just to make sure it was the right time for them. I think I covered everything. Um, yeah, so I'm really, really excited that we're able to do this 2 weeks in a row, and hoping that everyone has gotten what they've needed through this.
Yeah. Thanks, Kemba. I just want to add that a part of the application process of coming in here is that we actually do a divination. I do a divination after we have done the conversation with you. After you put your application in, as Kemba said, then we have a conversation. The third leg of that is that if we say that this is a good time for you, then I go to the ancestors and we do a divination to decide, let the ancestors determine whether this is in fact the time for you, and whether your ancestors want to play with our ancestors at this particular time, right? So it is the spiritual non-indigenous process begins even before you come in. So no, every single woman who has ever entered SLT or done any process like this with us over the last 16 years, including even when we did our process in LA for the documentary, had to be chosen by the ancestors. So I just want to make sure that that is understood, and is the core of the work that we do.
Mhm.
Other than that, you covered everything, Kemba.
Great.
And so we want to just remind you, if you are considering applying, it's Aina-Nia.com. That's AINA hyphen NI.NIA. and we have two streams when you go on the website. One is teams and one is self. Go to self, and it's called the Sacred Leaders Training Process, and begin the journey. We're gonna wrap up now because we have been on for over hour and 15 minutes. I want to take the next 3 minutes to just wrap up. Is there anything else, Selena and Kemi and Kemba, that you want to share with our audience before we close off?
I just want to close with the reflection from self.
Okay. Anything,
Okay.
Selena, before you do that, Kemba? Selena, Kemi, anything?
I just encourage folks, if you're even considering this, fill out the application. Like, go for it. Yeah, lean in, take a chance on yourself. You will not be disappointed.
Thank you.
And even the application process itself is is an investment in yourself. So I would encourage you to do that. And just for me, the concept of ease was something which I took away. Just in terms of life does not have it will unfold as it's supposed to unfold. So yeah, so put your foot in the water
Ashe,
and you'll be
Ashe,
surprised.
Ashe.
Yeah. Okay.
Just before you read, Kemba, I just want the audience to know that the live will be available. I think they just told me it is a 48-hour turnaround.
Okay.
So it will be
Thanks.
up by Monday. Yes.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Turn it over to you, Kemba, before we close off completely.
Thank you. My earrings decided not now. So this is day 19, purposeful living. And I'm just going to read the affirming reflection. This is a great time to own your purpose and to live on purpose. Purposeful living does not include choosing by default a life based on culture, religion, society, history. Therefore, abandoning your own values, desires, and purpose dreams. Purposeful living is about standing in your power and choosing to live your dreams, taking one baby step at a time with the knowing that you can because you are as you were created to be purposeful. And the question that I want to leave you with that's in this book, the affirming question is, are you living a life of default or a life on purpose?
That's a great way to close. Thank you. If you were on with us for the entire live, thank you for stopping by. If you are going to come on and see the recording, thank you for stopping by. Thank you so much, Kemi, and I want to congratulate you on your retirement. I'm so excited. I know there'll be many parties, so we're just gonna keep celebrating you for a while, and I want to also just acknowledge the work you have done and how you have shared yourself so wholly with community, and that the work you have left at Delta is one to be modeled and is being modeled. So thank you so very much. Selena, thank you so much for being on. Like, you just rock, you rock, you rock, you rock. And I want to use this opportunity to thank you for the way you created an Indigenous Affairs office at the City of Toronto,
Oh,
the
shit.
way you led it, the way you made waves, the way you disrupted so beautifully and so kindly and so sweet, and the way you continue to hold space for all Indigenous people everywhere, and especially the water carrier. So thank you so much for who you are, Selena. Thank you, Kemba, for always and for hanging out and being with me. It's now, you've been since cycle 3. So
Mhm.
we are about to do 6 cycles together, right? Right?
Okay.
We see 6 cycles together. So just thank you for always being there and the way you hold these women so amazing before, during, after, after the process. Thank you so much. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, ancestors, for hanging out with us today. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for continuing to guide us. I am so, so grateful, especially as we go into Black Liberation Month. So, Black
Ashe.
Liberation Month to everyone, take good care of yourself and stay loving.
Ashe.
Thank you.